That's new. Hey, everybody. We're recording in daylight today. Welcome to FuelStopChats. Let's try that again. Welcome to FuelStopChats. My mouth isn't working right today. Chris is enjoying this. Oh, another session. So we've been off for a few weeks, and the reason for that was I've been doing some hard work, some structural hard work up in the North Carolina mountains. Actually, about 3 months ago, my wife and I picked up some property right outside of Bryson City. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to build the house. I'm building the freaking house that's out there. I'm doing it. Started watching, well, this is my problem. I started watching some YouTube videos and thinking that I could build a house. It reminded me, now looking back retrospective, of many a second lieutenant or officer in general that I had run across in the military that had just enough information to be dangerous. And that's what I became. Ended up going up to the mountains, buying a lot of stuff at Lowe's and Ace Hardware to the point where they knew me when I pulled in the parking lot. And I seriously got my ass whooped going up and down that mountain, carrying concrete, wood, water, everything. And it doesn't seem like a lot looking back at it, but luckily Chris came up there and saved my bacon there at the last moment. We didn't quite get the project done, but we got to where it was a good place to leave it. So what I decided to do was to go up there and build a shed. Todd the fashionista has called it the she shed, but seeing that it's coming from Todd, I'm not too worried about it. My goal was a 20 by 20 platform with a 12 by 16 shed. What I ended up with, once I really got a feeling for the slope and the elevation, was a 25 by 15 platform and a 12 by 16 shed. I put the platform in, and then I laid down the 4 by 8 half-inch flooring that was all tongue and groove. And that's when I discovered that I wasn't exactly square. I wasn't as square as I thought I was going to be. You know, I was telling Chris, I was talking to my father-in-law, who's a bit of a tradesman. I was talking to him about this yesterday. And my wife is just tickled pink with the stories that I have of, you know, our conversations when you came in and you're like, 16-inch center. What is, why did you 16-inch on center? Don't, have you heard of that before?
Dude, I tried so hard to be nice. I tried so hard. I thought I was doing pretty good, so I apologize if
I Frankenstein this thing. So in my defense, I went into this and I was like, all right, I'm just going to build panels. I'm going to build a 4 foot by 8 foot frame and then put the 4 foot by 8 foot siding panel on there and put this up. Now, folks, I know this isn't really motorcycle talk, but this was a shed to house my motorcycle. So I'm bringing it in under that guise. Plus, it took place in North Carolina, God's country for motorcycle riding. I had my motorcycle up there. So did Chris. We planned to ride, but didn't because James put us so far behind the 8-ball in his construction project that it didn't work out. So I put these frames together and I, you know, slid them in place. And I was like, this is it, man. I have figured it out. I have rewritten the rules in construction history. I've made, you know, an achievement, an astonishing achievement. And Chris comes in, he's like, why did you do it like this? And I tried to explain to him.
And I just said, this is an interesting approach, I think was the words I used.
So I'm telling my father-in-law this story. And Chris is like, what? Huh? Where's your square? I was like, because you have a square, right? I was like, oh, yeah, of course. and we're looking around and kicking materials to the side. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking for. He's like, "Ah, here it is. I found it." And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, the L ruler, the L ruler." Yeah.
And it is the smallest framing square I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it goes along with the smallest level that you've ever seen in
Oh,
your life.
I was
The
like,
two things that I heard about for the 3 days that Chris was up there is, God, I wish I had a 4 foot level. God, I wish I had a real square. Yeah. So, I mean,
I offered to drive and
you,
bring all these tools,
hey,
and you said, I
I
got
got,
everything. I
I
got
did.
tools. I
I
got
did.
tools.
I got tools. I had a square. I had a level, maybe not to the specifications of which you were accustomed to using, but I had them.
Yeah, yeah. There was a variation of a level, and there was a variation of an L ruler.
So, hey, I will say this: considering what I put together, I'm still proud of the Frankenstein that I achieved. Considering I was only 3 inches off a square from when we put that roof on. Um, but
And
Chris did have. Go ahead.
that's 3 inches out of square on a 16 by 20 building.
Hey, shoot for
That's
the
a
stars,
lot.
baby.
That's a
Shoot for the
lot.
stars.
My brother came and built my garage 40 by 30, and it was at an eighth of an inch.
Yeah, but this is what he does for a living.
True, he's good at it, no doubt. Um, no, but I
Yeah,
mean, I tell you what, so we did a little. The first day was um, when you walk up to the building.
bourbon. First day was bourbon.
When you walk up to the building on the corner and you put your hand on the corner post, just I'm old, so I'm leaning on something to talk to James, and the building sways like 4 inches each direction. I thought, you know what we ought to do today is stop that and work on getting something that we can put some roof truss on. And so that was day one. And so we got the building shored up, got it fairly solid. And I knew once we got the roof on and the paneling on, the
Yeah,
side
once the
panels on,
siding paneling went on, it really tightened it up.
yeah. And then we did reinforce the roof and provided some capability to walk around up there while we're putting the metal roof on and stuff. So that was good. And then we finally, after a little bit of head scratching, figured out how to center the roof so that we would end up at least
The metal
symmetric.
roof, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
metal roof.
and kudos to Chris on that as well for saying, "Holy shit, why are we trying to think this out the way that we are? Because we need to put this on square." He goes, "Just go from center, dead center out, both ways." I was like, "Sure." I mean, I at that point I was
The
fucking
fun
wax
part
on,
was
wax off.
the,
I
the
was
fun
just
part
in
was
listen mode because
counting the ridges on the 10. I came to the conclusion that we had a really nice center line that we could achieve. And I had already calculated it all out, got the center marks all out. James comes down and he says, how are you going to know where the center of the 10 is? And I was like, well, there's 5 ridge lines. There'll be 2 on each side of the center line. And he goes, yeah, but you started counting from the end piece of 10, not the middle piece of 10.
yeah,
So I said, okay, well, go ahead and count it out. He gets to the last piece. He looks up at me and he goes, and just gave me that, just the sheepish, boyish grin.
yep,
Like, you knew that already.
yep.
Yeah, I had that figured out.
Yeah, I think my favorite part in the construction was once we put the siding on and we put the roof trusses in, and I'll put some pictures up. This thing actually does look pretty freaking spectacular, considering what we did, and the lifting and the. I'm pretty proud of it. To be honest with you, I think if you were to go and look at this structure without listening to this podcast, you wouldn't have any clue of the trial and tribulations that not only we went through, but that there are structural imperfections. There's a lot of band-aids. There's a lot of makeup on this one at the club at 3 a.m, but it's you know, it's still pretty on the outside. Uh, my favorite part was figuring out, well, we need to sort of move the building and shift it a little bit before we put these last panels on. So we took some ratchet straps to the highest point corner on the front. Now we did a single sided shed. Um,
Single roof, no gable.
no gables, the 15-foot span, and it was 13 feet at its peak on the front corner. We put some ratchet straps on there, and then hooked it up to the ball hitch of the truck, and then just I sat there and went click, and Chris sat there with the level. Give it one more. Click. All right, give it two more. Click. Click. All right, back it out one. Let it loose one. Like, all right, put the panels on. It's like put the super glue on now. Strap it up with some duct tape. It's ready to go. But I agree with you with one thing. That thing will far outlast me and my children because there's so many nails, so many pieces of lumber in there. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon. That's a hurricane level shed.
Yeah, I tell you, there were two things to me that were fun. One was sitting and straddling that wall and trying to reach the pocket for that roof truss.
Mm-hmm.
And we had taken and made 4 by 6 by 15 foot, and so they were heavy, pressure treated lumber, and we're trying to trying to hoist them things up in these pockets we had made. That was an accomplishment getting those in that day. And then the other funny story, part of the story I'll never forget, was the agreement to go grab chow before everything in town closes and come back and work in the dark. And every time I would start the skill saw, the lights would go out. The generator couldn't handle both.
Nope.
And yeah, there was a
So,
heated moment there.
I will have a good little rider warning for those riding in the Appalachian Mountain area. Check out Bryson City. It's a beautiful place, beautiful riding area. You know, it's not far from the Dragon, not far from anything really. It's centrally located to a lot of great things. There's really good people. But if you're hungry and you're going to be riding, make sure that you are in town before they roll it up the streets
Seven
because
thirty, man. You better
yeah,
be sitting down somewhere to eat at 7:30
minimum.
minimum.
I think one of the barbecue joints actually closes at 7. Um, but yeah, the one night that we made it in there was 9 o'clock at night, and we drove through the entire town, which really doesn't take long. And it came to the fact that okay, we're eating at Burger King. So we got to Burger King, and that was really just a flip of the coin because the line at McDonald's was longer. But we shortly realized why, because when we pulled up there,
Thank
uh,
you for stopping at Burger King. If your order does not include a Whopper, French fries, onion rings, milkshake, jalapeno poppers, or whatever else, please feel free to continue with your order.
well, no, actually, it wasn't Whoppers. It
Whopper
was
buns.
Whopper buns.
Whopper
So you
buns.
could
Yeah.
still get a
Yeah.
keto burger,
We're out of Whopper
no bread.
buns.
Yeah.
Whopper
So we
buns,
went back
French
over to
fries,
McDonald's
and ate
and
in the parking lot.
ate in the Arby's parking lot because Arby's was already
Arby's
closed.
was closed.
Yeah. But the liquor store was open.
That's
So that,
crazy. Yeah.
well, that's a bonus.
It's Bryson City.
Yeah. The campground we stayed at the Smoky
Smoky
Mountains
Meadows. Smoky
Meadows.
Mountain Meadows. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Which was nice.
Yeah, it was a good time overall.
Yeah.
I wish we could have ridden more, but
The best part about the campground, I mean, they had us, it was just like when we were in just outside of Silva and we had those camp spots right by the creek. We had camp spots right by the creek at Smoky Mountain Meadows. And it was ripping pretty good because we had gotten a lot of rain
yep.
leading into the weekend. And through the weekend, we got pretty lucky. But sitting around a campfire, listening to that creek roll by, man,
Doesn't get any better.
nice. Yeah, he was good sleeping.
Yeah, well, good sleeping for you. I had the neighbors from hell.
Wow. True. Your neighbors, dude, off the charts. I tell you,
I've never had that problem with camping before, um, where you have to stay up until 1 in the morning listening to the parents yell at the kids, and then have relations with the kids in the same tent.
Yeah,
It was
gross.
absolutely disgusting. I mean, there was five very large people, and by no means am I trying to be a fat shamer, although these people needed to be taught what McDonald's was not to be for them, because we actually saw them at McDonald's too.
We
Um,
did that night.
there's they were aggressively obese. Uh, but yeah, the parents with the three kids in a single, it's like a tunnel
Two
tent.
man.
Yeah,
Two man.
I was that was easily a 4-man tent. It was big enough. It
Well,
had a little vestibule.
advertised as a 4 man, which
Well, yeah,
is a 2 man tent.
yeah. Well, yeah, but the five of them in that tent was an impossible feat. And then the night that we sat around drinking bourbon until probably about midnight because I just had to wait for them to get home. They got home at like 12:30 with their kids that we did not know about. Uh, I got into my tent, and I swear to God that our tents were 5 feet, 10 feet from each other. I mean, I'm glad that they set theirs up so close to mine because I was there first, and then did set up their tent and then strew their shit everywhere in the campsite. There was like a little princess castle. There was some tricycles. I don't know where they got it. I felt like I was at a flea market, that I could have walked through there and bought stuff if I wanted to for $1. That's what that whole campsite felt like with them on there.
It
But
was
I got
rough.
into my bed and I hear, uh, uh, and I hear him making noises, and I was just like, oh God. So of course I start texting Chris. Uh, I think they're having sex. Well, it's not. I think they are having sex. And I was like, oh no, there he is. He just made another kid. It was the most disgusting sound that I've ever heard. In which Chris replied, "I have a little throw up in my mouth now. Thank you." And he's like, "Well, where's the kids?" I was like, "I guess they got rid of the kids." And then I heard the kids asking them for a yoo-hoo later. I was like,
After that.
"What? Eh,
And then I actually
oh,
heard them yelling at the kids 2 tents over.
yeah,
Oh man, it was
yeah."
rough.
But after you left, I ended up getting one of those cabins because my wife came in, and I didn't want to have to subject her to that torture. We stayed in one of those cabins across the creek from us. I think those were $55 a night. Beautiful. No water. You still got to go to the bathroom, but it had a queen size bed and two bunk beds, air conditioner, heater, refrigerator, electric, of course, for all that. A couple windows, a couple chairs, little picnic bench, um, the fire pit. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, they were in a good location. For dudes, I mean, it was really easy to go around back of the cabin because it was just tree line after that.
Yeah.
So, but then, yeah, so I left on
Yeah. How was
Tuesday.
your ride back?
Yeah, so I left Tuesday.
Yeah.
I had a phenomenal start to the day. I had about an hour of rain, and then it got really nice, cleared up. I
Well, and that's why I was actually curious about the start. So I know that we were
we
planning
got
on getting
packed
up
up
at
dry.
yeah. Well, we were planning on getting up at 6 because we thought we'd be able to pack. So I was packing all my shit. You were packing all your shit. Uh, I'm laying in bed listening to Fat Bastard next door snoring, and I noticed that there's like this light flashing. I didn't know what the hell it was, so I started looking at my radar. We were in a horseshoe of clear with this really nasty storm. I mean, yellow and red on the radar surrounding us. So
Yeah.
I got up, made sure he was up. He was already up anyway, and just started packing our shit in a mad fury just to beat the weather, because there's nothing worse than packing up all of your gear in the rain. It's one thing to ride in the rain, and I don't really mind that as much, but packing all of my shit up in the rain sucks because now it's just going to get, it's not good for the gear. One, uh, it just means that I can't leave it on the shelf for a week and then open it up and let it air out. I'm going to have
Yeah.
to do it immediately when I get home.
Right.
let it dry, and then clean it if it's not moldy already, depending on what the heat and humidity is driving or riding where we're going. So I know that we packed up, and it started coming down hard, maybe about 30 minutes after you left. And I was
Well,
watching the radar because I had to go to Asheville to pick up my wife, and like 2 or 3 hours after you had left. And I was watching that radar. I was like, well, I think he might have had some rain in the beginning, but it looked like he cleared out of it.
so I when I left, I got to the other side of Bryson going east toward Asheville before I started cutting north. And I stopped to get fuel and was going to take a little coffee break because I didn't have any coffee yet. And I pulled my phone out and was looking at the radar and I was like, now we'll skip the coffee break, just jump right back on the bike and keep on going east and then start hooking north. And it finally did catch up to me, but it rained, not terrible. I mean, it was just a good steady rain. It wasn't anything, too frightful. There was no standing water, no hydroplaning fears, anything like that. So I got to almost Bristol and it quit raining. Got on the other side of Bristol and got into some really nice sunny, white puffy cloud, day. Stopped for fuel, a cup of coffee, took the rain pants off, had a decent break there. And I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so, and finished my coffee, got back on the bike. I didn't have the rain pants on anymore, so that was nice. My climb jacket, I unzipped some of the vents, so I'm cruising. I had a chance to, I didn't have the 60-mile-an-hour winds that I had coming down. So I was able to relax a little bit and put my feet out on the highway pegs and motor. And I made really good time. And I got to about 100, I was 115 miles from home because Tammy called and was talking to me. And I said, I can see literally a wall of water coming across this ridge and across this open field. And I started looking immediately to see how far it was to the next exit. Thankfully, the next exit had the little gas pump sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, okay, all of a sudden I got 2 miles to go to get to this exit. Traffic stops. So I'm thinking, okay, this is one of those deals where I'm going to have to take a chance on a Virginia State trooper not catching me riding up the shoulder because
Yep.
I gotta get my rain pants back on, get my gloves back on, and zip up my vents. And I don't want to do that on the shoulder of the road. But traffic stops, so I figure worst case scenario, that's what I'll do. So traffic rolls, kind of roll stop, and I can see this wall of water coming at me, and I'm thinking, oh man, oh man, oh man, one more mile to go and I couldn't wait. So I jump off. And as I'm talking to Tammy, she says to me, that doesn't sound like rain hitting your helmet. And I was like, can you hear that? And she said, yes. And it was not quite pea size, little pieces of sleet, hail, hitting the, wasn't
Mm.
sleet. It wasn't that cold. It was hail. So I get off the off ramp. Literally immediately right there was the gas station. I pull under the awning and there was a pump open. And I figured, well, while I'm here, I'll just go ahead and top off and I don't have to mess
Yeah.
with it. And I literally got off my bike, watched two signs fly by,
What?
held the bike to make, yeah, there was wind like, I don't know, had to be 60, 65-mile-an-hour gusts of wind. Two signs just poof. And I'm holding the bike to make sure it ain't going to blow over. And I ran inside and I said, do you have uh, a pump that would, is the pump on? Is power on? And she said, yeah, power to the pump's still on. You can go ahead and pump gas real quick. So I thought, well, let me run out and get that done before they lose power.
Yeah.
So I go out, I top the tank off, and I'm just getting ready to walk back inside and get a cup of coffee and figure, you know what? I looked at the map. I thought 45 minutes, it's worth it. I'll just sit here and have a coffee and I'll get something for lunch. And, this will be my lunch stop. And while I'm sitting there, I finished pumping the gas and I was buttoning everything up. I was grabbing my rain gloves, getting my rain pants, and I was going to run inside and dime size hail starts falling.
Ooh.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to stand here under this awning for a minute.
Yeah.
And it turns from dime size to quarter size hail balls. and
Oh.
every car on 81 was trying to squeeze under the awning and they're all looking at me like, move your bike, move your bike. And I'm like, no, I'm
Nope.
not moving. I could care two, you know,
Yep.
I'm holding my ground right here, and I'm going to stand here and watch you back in here because if you touch my bike, it's on. So everybody crowds in as tight as they could. I wait till everybody gets situated. Well, okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I run back in. I didn't run. I walked. I had a helmet on.
Yeah.
Quarter size hail. This woman's looking at me like just mouth agape as I go strolling across the parking lot to the building. I go back. I said, "Can I borrow your mop?" The lady was so nice. She was like, "Don't worry about it. I'll get it." Because I'm dripping water everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little table, stand-up table in the back by the coffee machine.
Perfect.
And yeah, so I put my helmet off and put it on the table and sat there with the rain pants and stuff on the table and grabbed they had really good those what are them things called? They're like a spicy there's a nickname for them. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Drink
Fire
or
hot
food?
or something. It's like a hot dog, but it's a little bit bigger than a hot dog, not quite
Like
a bratwurst.
not a red hot, but
Something like a red hot, yeah. And they had those with cheese. I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to go in, I'm going all in. So I got one of those. Got a cup of coffee.
oh,
Sat
you're
there.
really risking it. Quarter size hail, a cup of coffee, and a roller dog.
Yeah,
Man, that is
dude, I'm rolling the dice. That I should have got a lottery ticket. I mean, but
yeah.
I
I think
sat
you
there.
got
This dude,
you didn't shit yourself, so you won the lottery.
yeah. So this guy comes running in with his gear on. He was on the Honda B.
Mm-hmm.
Like we rented out in
Yeah, the
Arizona.
B
You had
series.
one,
Yeah.
yeah. Which kind of looks like a Beamer B series.
Mm-hmm.
If you really look at it, it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's the
Honda,
gold windbagger. It's the same
Honda,
thing.
Honda might have had this idea first. And
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah. So anyway, he pulls up. He's an older fella, and he comes in. He's talking to me, and I said, "I think we're good in about 30 more minutes." I said, "If you want to just hang out and wait." And so I moved some stuff and gave him a little part of the table there, and we chit chatted for a while. And he said, "Yeah," he said, "I just took a day run down to Westminster, Winchester, and then was just heading back into Pennsylvania. So I'm heading to PA too." And he says, "Looks like we're going to get wet." I said, "Honestly, man, I think about 45 minutes, this is going to be gone, and we're going to have, sunny skies and be good to go." So at about the 30-minute mark, I start wrapping up my stuff and getting ready to go, and it's still kind of overcast, but it isn't raining, and the wind has subsided significantly. I
Mm-hmm.
got a full tank of fuel. I got a cup of coffee in me. Had a hot dog. 115 miles to the house is just a sprint. And I'm thinking, let's just roll with it. Got on the interstate. There was plenty enough traffic that they had almost dried the pavement.
Oh,
Wasn't
yeah.
it was just damp. I had my rain gear on, so I really could care less at that point. And and the last 115 miles in less than 115 minutes to get to the house. And that was it. I tell you what, both directions were, if you ride it all and you have, what I'm talking about, when you get that 50 to 60 mile an hour gust of wind
Yeah.
crossways
Mm-hmm.
and you're going down the interstate, you can't really stretch out and relax.
Well, that's what
And
you had coming down. And on the way down, you had massive, nasty winds on the way down.
yeah, it was brutal. I mean, there were, in fact, I got home, there were shutters. I had to replace two shutters had been ripped off. Um, there were some tree limbs all broke off. My wife's lilac bush took a pounding. Um, and that was like that all the way. I mean, there were tree limbs and stuff. Luckily, there's not a lot of trees along close to the road until you get close to Roanoke. And then you start getting some trees closer to the road where you could see big limbs that had, been ripped off and stuff. That was the ride down. And I was pretty tired when I got down there.
Yeah, you were
I'm
beat.
just fighting the wind. It wasn't that far. It was like 537, I think, miles to the campground. But I was exhausted. That was just a mental taxing day with that high wind like that all day long. And then that ride home, I was like, I told Tammy, she goes, how was the weather while you were down there? I said I had to wear my big floppy hat to keep from getting sunburned. It was so
Yeah.
nice on Saturday. And we
Oh, it was
moved our
beautiful.
motorcycles this many
Yep.
miles, 0.
Yep.
But we got the roof on, we got the structures tightened up, and the bike shed, and
It's almost done. I'm going back down at the end
looking
of the
good.
month. Are going back up at the end of the month, and I'll finish it up, get it painted, put a coat of paint on there, and call her done. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it'd be
Well,
nice,
Chris was.
be a nice shed.
Yeah, it will be. Learning history is something taught in school. Experiencing history is a right seldom exercised. Either experiencing the American Civil War by walking its battlefields and touching the soil where blood was shed, or experiencing musical history from the studios where the lyrical touchstone was created and recorded, the textile of history should be experienced firsthand. Participants in this journey should be riding a motorcycle from historical location to historical location so that the environment can wash through them in the open air. Ride History provides an intimate, educated, and personal experience guiding its riders through history on the freedom of two wheels. Check out www.ridehistory.com for available tours of the Gettysburg Battlefield, or ride through America's entry into the Industrial Revolution on the Oilfield Tour. The Knox Tour from Fort Ticonderoga to Boston, or the 8-day Rhythm Tour, starting in Atlanta and hitting Nashville, Memphis, Muscle Shoals, Jackson, and New Orleans. Ride through American history at ridehistory.com. So when Chris was there, we met some of the neighbors, and we're talking to my new neighbor Steve, and he'd asked us if we had ever heard of this mythical creature called the yellow wolf, and we are in search of him. I have gotten word that he normally hangs out almost daily at Kill Boys, so I'm going to reach out to them and see if they can get us in touch with them. So for the listeners, you've heard of the Saddle Sore 1000 Iron
butt
Butt
burner,
Association. It's 1,000 miles in 24 hours. I've done it from Tampa to St. Louis in 24 hours.
To my dad's house.
Yeah, actually, I went to Chris's dad's house. It's 1,000 miles on an interstate in 24 hours. It's a lot. But we were told of this guy that he accomplished his Saddle Sore 1000 on the tail of the dragon.
Only the tail of the dragon.
Only the tail of the dragon.
Back and forth.
24 hours with other traffic. It's not like they closed the dragon for him to do this. He did this with other people on it. So he had to keep his own speed to make his time in that 11 miles, one way, 11 miles back, to do that for 1,000 miles total within a 24-hour period. So I really want to talk to this guy.
No doubt.
I want to find out what kind of level of rider or sadism this guy has, because
Well, I'll tell you what, that video clip that you shared that was him on one of his later trips with some friends, that dude's riding a Honda Goldwing.
yeah,
like,
yeah. By the way, it was on a Honda Goldwing.
Like he stole it. I mean, I've never seen a guy on a Goldwing. I mean, he had sprint bikes. He had sport bikes that he was riding with.
He'll pass them.
And yeah, I mean, unbelievable talent. But to do 1,000 miles back and forth on the dragon, that's one for the books, man. So I'd love to get him on here and interview him. That was
now, if any of our listeners know him, send him our way, because we're trying to find this guy, the elusive, mystical yellow wolf. Rick, I don't know. I've got his name somewhere, but
yeah, there's an article that gives his real name.
Yep, but definitely want to get him on here. Just that's insane. The other thing I sort of want to talk about today was May is Motorcycle Awareness Month. I think every month should be Motorcycle Awareness Month, of course, because we ride motorcycles and we want riders or drivers to know that we're out there. But I think it's something that, as a rider, we definitely need to promote it and put it out there. I'm not really one that subscribes to awareness months or celebration months. Everybody's got a month now, or everybody's got a day. But I do think that this is something that should have some kind of national traction, just because there's far too many people that get hit because people aren't looking. They're not
Yeah.
looking twice, or they're just not looking good enough. Uh, I know it's hard to see a motorcycle sometimes. I know that there are riders out there that tend to ride in a blind spot of a vehicle and not really think about it. And I'm guilty of it as well. You get into the zone and you're riding, you're just riding. Especially on the interstate, you're sort of getting your speed and you're doing your thing. And sometimes I'll realize, oh shit, I'm in this guy's blind spot. He could come over and whack me in a heartbeat. Uh, so there's a lot on us as riders to not put ourselves in those situations. But I also think that drawing more awareness to it will hopefully save a couple accidents.
Yeah, I tell you, I read a great piece. Oh gosh, this wasn't too long ago, but as kids, when we were growing up, when we take road trips as a family, when you'd spot a Volkswagen, you would either where we grew up, it was
Slug
punch
bug.
buggy, yeah, or slug bug, right? Slug bug, punch bug, and it really made you look for Volkswagen
Oh yeah, I
Buzz,
still do
Beetle,
today.
right?
I
Yeah,
still do today.
and so one of the guys suggested teach your kids to play bike bump instead of slug bug. And so keep
Okay.
an eye out looking for motorcycles, and you can score points, knocking your brother or sister or whatever, saying bike bump, or you can call it whatever you want. But it is interesting how much attention people will pay, when they're actually gamifying looking for motorcycles.
Yes.
And so it was a great way to teach the kids to keep an eye out. And it's almost like when you see the one eye headlight, at night, there's the version of slug buggy with the one eye,
Yep. Or tail light. You got Mickey Finn's and
yeah,
yeah, Mickey Finn was their tail light, and what was it's not paradiddle,
padiddle.
padiddle. Something
Padiddle
like
was
that.
the one eye, the
Something like
girls
that.
used to do it
And
all
I
the
could be
time.
wrong. I'm sure
I
there
don't
are.
know. It's just, I'm old, but anyway, gamify looking for bikes with the kids on road trips, and you'll raise up some kids that start driving and actually are looking for, motorcycles instead of looking around or through them. But I thought it was a
Yeah,
cool
while they're
idea.
looking for Volkswagens.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool idea. And like I said, it's something that, we know that gamification works. We do it in IT, we do it in industry. Um, certainly,
Competition.
certainly one of the best marketing, tools out there. But definitely keep an eye out for bikes. May, everybody's out. June, July, August, depending on where you live. Some people ride all year round, but um, keep an eye out. And if you're a cyclist, be smart, ride like you're invisible.
Exactly.
But yeah, good PSA there, man.
So next week, I talked to Florian. He'd like to come out, talk to us about what he's got going on with Roadrunner.
Yeah.
I know that there was an issue that dropped a few weeks ago. It actually came out when I was up in North Carolina, and my wife was just sending me pictures of it and teasing me of, look what magazine came in the mail, but you can't read it. So that was one of the first things I did when I got home. It's
Me
really good
too.
articles in there. I like the write up on the Harley Davidson. I do want to get my hands on one of those and ride it. I think
Pan America.
yeah, I think that would
Yeah.
be a wonderful bike to put in the collection.
I tell you, it's funny. I was sitting here, I'm looking for an ADV bike,
Yep.
and
Which
I
means
kind of
that I
had
am.
I had it narrowed down to two, and
Not anymore.
now there's a third one I got to go check out. I was thinking about a fly and rent, and picking one of those up for one of our 4-day, 1,200 miles. That way you get to know a bike. I know the GS
Yeah, but
really
who's
well.
got them to rent? That's the thing.
Well,
Nobody's
I
going to
know
have
they're
this
hard to
for at
come
least
by,
a year.
but I mean, they're supposed to be hitting showrooms pretty heavy right about now. So I'm hoping that they'll start showing up, this fall, and certainly by next spring if I don't pull the trigger before then. Um, but I was looking at the KTM, obviously looking at BMW. After riding with Yvonne on the Africa Twin Honda,
That Africa Twin's nice.
it was nice, but the
It's just
problem,
big.
well, not that wasn't the problem. Yeah, the seat height's an issue for me, sure. But you know what I really turned me off to the bike was the fuel mileage. If you
Oh, it was
remember,
horrible.
if you remember right, uh, both of us on GS's, well, I was on the GS 1200, and we were, I mean, not a little bit, like 100 more miles, or so that we could go.
Now, what size
Before,
tank did that come with? Was it a smaller tank? And then did you have an extended tank
I
or?
didn't have the A, so I didn't have the bigger tank. I just had the standard GS tank.
Yeah, because I know that. Yeah, I was running a DR like 650 or 750, so I was on a smaller bike. I wasn't, so I couldn't really compare with mileage from what I was riding and what you guys were riding. But you guys had the big ones, and yeah, I remember he was that was our go-to.
We
Yvonne,
knew,
when do we need to get gas because we need to see when you got to get eight.
yeah. And he and I rode together from Julian to Long Beach to turn the bikes in together
Yep.
after you peeled off and headed over to Yuma. And we were talking about the fuel mileage while we were running up the road, and that kind of turned me off to the bike, just in and of itself. Now I did like the 21-inch front tire, and the way that it was set up, it was definitely more off-road bike,
Definitely.
than the GS that I had was, especially with the lowered suspension. But honestly, at first the weight of it was something that made me look at the 850, and then I remembered picking that thing up 4 or 5 times wasn't wasn't that big a deal.
No,
And what surprises me too is the GS 12 over the 850. It's like a full tank of fuel weight difference. It's not that big a weight difference.
no, and the way that they have those things balanced and counterbalanced, I mean, to just go behind it, you know, you back up to the bike if it's laying down, put your back against the seat, put your arms behind you, and just grab a hold of something and lift, and the bike just goes up so easily.
I didn't even do that. I literally walked over and kind of curled the bike up,
Yeah,
and I didn't think it was that big a deal. When we got down in that deep sand, I picked that thing up 4 or 5 times, and I mean, it wasn't that big a deal. And what I also liked was on the 1200 versus the 800, the cylinder heads being so low down,
yep,
you have that low center of gravity
with the
as
boxer engine. Yeah,
opposed to the traditional, parallel twins, with the cylinder heads up high and the fuel tank and everything up high, having that top heavier, kind of setup. The 12 is definitely a contender. But then I saw the Pan America. It weighs a little bit less than the
yeah,
12. It's got a little bit more horsepower. It's got that automatic suspension setting that'll allow it to shrink down the seat height when you roll to a stop. I mean,
yep.
there's some pretty interesting, like I said, on paper, looks fantastic. I never really I'm a fanboy of doing model year number one.
No,
So it's like, we'll shake it out and see what happens. And that may be the deterrent that keeps me from getting the bike this year, is just merely waiting and seeing how that goes. Cause I know that the Beamers and the KTMs are going to be tried and true. I know they're solid. Even if they tell me, yeah, we got a new, like when the 1250s came out with the cams, that adjustable,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, great linear power, great linear difference. But again, even against the 1250, the Pan America's got more horsepower, less weight. So anyway, it might be worth waiting for a season just to see how they shake out.
Yeah, I've been, and I was sitting here and I'm thinking about it, and you're talking about you doing a flying rent or flying ride. Um, most of the Eagle riders that we rent from are Harley Davidson based. It's a Harley Davidson bike. So I might actually get online and take a look at some of the Eagle riders and see if they've got this thing out there for rent yet, because no better way for a Harley Davidson, dealership to promote that bike than to throw it in the lineup of the Eagle Rider that they're sponsoring being at their shop. I mean, when we rode Eagle Rider here in Tampa, it was at the Harley dealer.
Yep.
Uh, they're predominantly more Harley Davidsons at in Eagle Rider than anything else. So there might be some out there already, and we just don't even know about it.
Yeah. I mean, in February, when we get back on track, maybe by February, there's
Yeah,
a there's a corporate meeting, that we can get to. Um,
virtual.
no, maybe there's a corporate meeting we can get to.
Yeah. Don't watch the
Silly
video.
boy.
Don't watch. Yeah,
Hey,
don't watch the video.
if you work with us, we're seriously kidding. We're joking.
All
But
right, brother.
so anyway, it was fun hanging out as always.
Always.
Getting to do the podcast again. But it was cool. You'll have to throw in for the YouTube channel. You have to
I
throw in
will
a
put some
couple
pictures
of,
up.
pictures up and show people kind of what we were talking about.
Chris and his
And,
bibs.
Chris and my bibs, yeah, my natural habitat.
And I sent a picture to my dad. He's like, "Who's the country bumpkin you got working up there in the hill with you?" I was like, "You'd be surprised."
Yeah, I grew up on a farm, so I mean, it's like, and around here, I mean, if I do any yard work or working
Yeah,
on
I'd wear that stuff too.
you come out to the garage with me, and like, for example, I got oh man, mowing the grass yesterday on the Kubota, and the connector rod from steering to the front end broke. So that'll be this week's garage project, replacing that steering rod connector. But yeah, I'm always out there in bibs because if they get greasy or whatever, who cares?
Who cares?
Throw them in the wash by themselves with everything else. It's nice to be able to throw that on over a pair of shorts and go get some work done, and then just throw them in the wash. No biggie.
Yep.
Old habits die hard.
Exactly. All right, so let's me and you get together on Wednesday night for the next podcast. Well, I'll shoot an invite out to Florian. We'll have him
Yeah.
on here, and then we'll play cards afterwards because I got Ty coming in Thursday, so I'm
Cool.
sort of tied up on Thursday. But yeah, thanks for everybody for listening in. Sorry we've been gone for a couple weeks. Didn't tell anybody. I'm sure you didn't notice anyway. You probably enjoyed not being pestered. That hey,
The
we got a
3 or 4 of
podcast.
us.
You should listen to our
The
podcast.
3 or 4 subscribers.
Yeah, subscribe and like. I did put on the YouTube channel
I
a
saw.
quick instructional video on tying down a motorcycle, or at least the K1600.
Which is unique to the K bikes.
It is. But I think it was a little informative, and but somebody did post. He goes, you could be working the Mississippi River as a tow captain for 30 years and still not properly tied down a motorcycle, according to somebody. I was like, no, you 100% right. 100% right. Everybody has their own way of doing it. This is just the way that I do it. Maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. But I really like those ratchet straps that I have for it. Those are pretty slick, and hopefully some others like those as well. I'm going to do a video this week. I got a new air compressor, and I've got to take the Beamer in to do the recall on the fuel pump to a different dealer, not the one that is local. So when I get down there, I've been noticing losing air pressure in my rear tire. So I have some kind of slow leak back there from the dealership that will stay unnamed. Not the one local, but another one up in Atlanta that is a BMW dealership. Oh, maybe the only one there. Anyway, they put a new tire on my bike, and I've had a continual slow leak since then. So, but I did get a new air compressor because my other air compressor failed.
What'd you
I
get?
really like this one. Hold on.
I'll tell you what, man. I went with the cycle pump, and the video that they show a Jeep driving over the cycle pump is legit. That thing is really well made. Doesn't take up a ton of space, and man, I really like it a lot.
I don't know. It's like the number 7 OMAI. I don't know. I like it. I mean, it's brand new. I still have the thing on. I've used it a few times. It's small. It's compact. What I really like.
Is
what I
that
like
case
about it-
plastic?
Yeah, it is
So
plastic.
the cycle pump is about that size, but you can drive over it with your car and not hurt it.
So yeah, I got this on Amazon for like $30. what I really like about it now, what I want to test with in the video is the accuracy, where it's telling you what the pressure is, but you can set what pressure you want to put in there, and then put it on and hit start, and it'll go to that pressure and then stop and beep and let you know that you've reached that level. So I'm going to put it on
That's
the
pretty cool.
put the bike up on the center stand. I'll put this on there. I want to test it out, and then I've got my tried and true
Pencil.
analog silver metal round with the dipstick that shoots out the side, air compressor
They're
tester.
called pencil gauges.
See, yeah, it goes. It sits in my toolbox right next to the L-shaped ruler. So, all right, Chris. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks to everybody for listening. Subscribe, like, you know the deal. Rider out.
Rider out.